Zealotous, thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. When a government faces an escalating security crisis at home, the easiest political move is to point a finger across the border. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of Nigeria recently declared that foreign combatants from Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are driving Nigeria's horrific wave of mass abductions, banditry, and terrorism. He cited the kidnapping of schoolchildren in Oyo State as evidence of a Sahelian invasion. The critical question must be asked: is this an accurate diagnosis of cross-border infiltration, or is it a convenient political cover for systematic internal failure? The official narrative coming out of Abuja claims that the breakdown of regional security cooperation caused by the military leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso and their subsequent exit from ECOWAS created a massive security vacuum. Nigerian officials argue that these military leaders, led by Captain Ibrahim Traore, Assimi Goita, Abdurrahmane Chiani, and two generals, lost control of their borders, forcing armed groups like the G and the Rays to now move southward directly into Nigerian territory. Proponents of this view point out that the collapse of joint intelligence sharing and border patrols between ECOWAS and the newly formed AES alliance left thousands of kilometers of wilderness and police. They argue that heavily armed non-state actors naturally migrate toward softer, high-value targets, exploiting Nigeria's massive forest reserves in states like Sokoto and other places. The counter perspective tells a completely different story. Military analysts and regional critics argue that blaming neighboring states ignores a painful reality. The Sahel leaders came to power precisely because the civilian governments before them failed to stop these DT activities. Upon taking control, governments in Mali, in Bamako, and in Niamey cut ties with Western forces, expelled foreign troops, and completely overhauled their military strategies to aggressively fight insurgent networks within their own territories.
You see the problem of insecurity in Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger Republic is adding more fuel to our challenges. In fact, that is why we must enhance the capacity of the forest guards as well as create the state police. And you have governed before as the governor. You need to help us communicate to these governors.
Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger problems are contributing to the insecurities in Nigeria, according to Nigerian President Asiwaju Tinubu. Take a look at what he said. According to the report available, the Nigerian president is blaming the Sahel countries of contributing to the insecurity happening in Nigeria. He went on to say that majority of the terrorists that abducted the school children a few weeks ago in Nigeria, that many of them are not from Nigeria, but they are from Mali, they are from Burkina Faso, they are from Niger. Now guys, I have questions to ask the president of Nigeria. He is claiming that Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger are contributing to the insecurities just because those people that abducted the school children, he claimed that they are from Mali, they are from Burkina Faso, they are from Niger. Now the question is, who invited those terrorists in Nigeria from Mali, from Burkina Faso, and from Niger to Nigeria? The answer is Nigerian leaders invited Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, all these terrorist groups from the Sahel, from Arab world, to Nigeria during Goodluck Jonathan's regime. Buhari and other Nigerian leaders invited them. The evidence are there. Go and do your own research. Who invited, who recruited Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda, all of them, in order to tarnish the image of Goodluck Jonathan. Now, how can a government that is negotiating with terrorists be blaming governments that are bombing the hell out of terrorists in Sahel? Nigerian leaders are negotiating with terrorist groups across Nigeria, recruiting them into the army, into the society. The same government that is negotiating with terrorist group, recruiting them into the army and into the society, is now blaming government that are bombing the hell out of the same terrorist group that you're recruiting in your own country. And you're coming out to blame those governments of contributing to your own insecurity. Oh my goodness. Hey, guys, can you imagine? According to the president of Nigeria, Asiwaju Tinubu, I know what they're trying to do. France are doing everything possible to paint these Sahel leaders black. ECO was the same. African Union, the same. Right now, Tinubu just said his own. So for many people, Africans, to see Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger as the problem, as the one contributing to the insecurities across the Sahel and across Africa, whereas France is the one sponsoring all these terrorists. Nigerian government is the one negotiating with terrorists. Instead of bombing the hell out of them, instead of unaliving them, Nigerian government is negotiating with them, recruiting them into the army. But in Burkina Faso, in Niger, and in Mali, you can never see these leaders negotiate with terrorists. Take a look at what is happening in Mali. Russian forces and Malian forces are dealing with these guys. After dealing with them, many of them will escape. They will go back to Nigeria. Nigerian government will welcome them, negotiate with them, recruit them into the army. Nigerian government is recruiting the terrorists into the army. Go and do your own research. The videos are there. The news are there. Go to Nigerian news channels. You will see it that Nigerian government is negotiating. Nigerian government is recruiting the terrorists, Boko Haram, that are unaliving innocent Nigerians on daily basis. Nigerian government will negotiate with them, sew clothes for them, give them food, give them money, and recruit them into the army. The same terrorists that are recruiting into the army will be giving intelligence to their members against Nigerian soldiers, real Nigerian soldiers. On daily basis, they are unaliving Nigerian soldiers just because the leaders here in Nigeria are the ones recruiting these guys into the army.
When the military regimes in the Sahel began launching heavy, aggressive anti-TT offensive, armed groups found themselves under intense pressure inside Mali, inside Burkina and Niger. Rather than staying to be dismantled, these TT people retreated towards paths of least resistance. Why did they choose Nigeria? Not because the Sahelian militaries failed, but because Nigerians' own borders are notoriously porous. Its vast internal forests are largely unpoliced, and its domestic security apparatus has been chronically underfunded, understaffed, and structurally compromised for years. Over a decade, local banditry in northwest and north-central Nigeria was treated by state authorities as mere cattle men or local communal conflict rather than a full-scale national security emergency. When we have issues at hand, like what the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are doing. When they came, they decided to kick the foreign troops out. But we are not hearing Ahmed Tinubu talking about the number of years that we have had these foreign troops from France, from the United States of America in the Sahel. And there were these TT activities ongoing on in Nigeria. Because what is happening in Nigeria didn't just start today. But rather, they prefer to point a finger at their brothers for their own failure. How did these leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso succeeded in expelling foreign troops who came and never did anything, and the TT were spreading? But the moment they came into office just some few years ago, they have been able to push these people, and they have to find places that are softer. Because if Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso is no longer a safe haven, then they need to find another place. And Tinubu is telling the whole world, this is not the first time Tinubu is making this statement. His last visit to UK, we heard him say the same thing, and now he's saying the same thing. Our leaders will never take responsibility for their own actions. How do you expect this to be a problem of the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso? How did they cause that? simply because they decided to move out of ECOWAS. That has been the problem. That has worsened the security situation when we know even when these leaders were under the PP who were there and they were part of ECOWAS, Nigeria was still no knowing peace. Nigerians, we hear news all over that they have to sit down to negotiate with them. But when the Sahelian leaders came, they said it is better to fight the person who is fighting you rather than to have a table and then serve a coffee to be taken with the same person. They were so tired of negotiating with them, and that was why they decided to do it their own way. And we have Tinubu, who has not shown a way of dealing with this situation like the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are doing. Sit down today and point a finger at them. You know, this is how we have solved the problems of Africans, and this is why the African continent has moved forward. We are seeing that anytime there is a situation at hand that our leaders need to rise up and find solution, they would rather be sitting down pointing fingers at wrong people. The leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso never did anything. Day in, day out, you are seeing the things that they are buying in order to protect their borders. They are still not sitting here signing security pacts with other people. And if Tinubu is still claiming these things are spreading, what about the people who came to do the home on the 25th of December 2025, claiming that they have wiped out all these things that are happening in Nigeria? Have you seen that with that one? Tinubu is not making any comment that people failed them by coming to do home, claiming that there was this Merry Christmas, they were wishing them wherever they are. Tinubu hasn't mentioned that, but Tinubu is quick to point a finger at his own brother for fighting for his or her sovereignty, making sure that we reclaim our sovereignty, we reclaim our freedom. That is a problem to the African leader. And until when will our leaders continue to be pointing wrong fingers at people? When these things started in Nigeria, were the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso in office? Were they not democratic leaders? So how come these things never ended until today? That these leaders are in office, that we have Tinubu pointing a finger at the Sahelian leaders. Why not accept the failure on your part as a government? What have you done yourself to solve the security crisis in Nigeria before pointing a finger at your brother in the Sahel? We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we'll make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world in Africa, West Africa, and in Nigeria.